And it's time to engage with the lawmakers. Our Tuesday annual conversation with the folks who represent us. Things just getting underway in Olympia yesterday, so who knows how much he already knows. But we'll find out with 14th District State Representative Chris Corry. Good morning, Mr. Representative.
Good morning, David Lance. Good to be with you guys.
Thanks for being here. Are we speaking to you from a hidden, undisclosed location, or are you in your living room?
Even better, I'm in my office downstairs in my house.
Well, a place set aside for professionalism.
Right on.
And no peanut butter and jelly sandwiches getting on your stuff, right?
Well, Chris, were you over? I'm sorry. Were you over in Olympia yesterday?
Yes, I was. I was there for the opening session where we moved to adopt rules to basically send us all back home and do this virtually. So I was one of 39 Republicans who voted against that and believed that we could be better served doing the people's business there safely. But unfortunately, we are in the minority there. So it was quite the scene yesterday.
How was it to see the guard there and the fencing and all of that?
It was probably one of the most surreal moments of my life. I actually talked to my wife after going through all the checkpoints, which I can't believe I'm saying for our state capitol. But it was very surreal. It did not feel like I was in America. Hundreds of guardsmen. Probably an equal amount of state patrol there, fencing everywhere. It seemed a bit of an overkill given the fact that there was, maybe 15 or 20 people out there protesting peacefully, from what I could tell. So, and on both sides, I saw some people there claiming to be from Antifa as well as from the side that wanted the government open. So,
interesting.
Interesting.
Did you guys receive any sort of warnings about what they think might be coming on the 17th or before, that sort of thing? We've heard the reports, the FBI is warning capitals in all 50 states. Did you guys get a briefing on that?
No, nothing as far as I've been made aware. So for the foreseeable future, we'll be meeting virtually. I think it's not a good thing, but I will say, the one silver lining is that as people who live in Eastern Washington and the Capitol, obviously it's far away and can be treacherous with the pass, trying to get there to testify. There are some nice options this session for actually testifying virtually and remotely. So, hopefully we can keep that going forward. But I'm trying to find any positive I can out of this.
Yeah, I guess you would be. Is it possible that while you're testifying virtually, they can turn off their monitors and walk away? I mean, is there any assurance that you'll be heard? I mean, my wife teaches school in a virtual situation, and she's pretty convinced that a good portion of her kids are gone. Just kind of throwing that out there. You don't have to answer that.
I'm gonna answer this because I'm gonna take my less sarcastic route, which I don't always do. No, I think you'll be heard. I've made it a commitment on priority to make sure that my video's on when I'm doing this, so I'm not distracted trying to do other things. And I hope my fellow legislators will do the same. So,
Chris, we want to open back up. I don't know if maybe I don't know if what you're hearing from your constituents, or if you had a chance. Usually you have a chance to maybe go around, shake some hands, and talk to people, but I don't know if that happened. But I would tend to think a lot of the folks that you are talking to are saying, "Man, this COVID-19 thing, we need to open back up." Is it kind of taking all the air in the room, or is it going to get some other business done?
I think I think that it needs to be our main priority.
Yeah.
Getting us back open, and there's no reason why we can't be open safely now. We've now seen here locally that you can have a large business with hundreds of employees have the virus and not shut down. So why is it that my small businesses that have had zero are shut down? There's no reason why we can't protect safety, can't do things safely. And we saw businesses bend over backwards in this community to to make sure that happens so that they could reopen at a fraction of what they were at, just to keep their doors open and just to make sure that they didn't close down permanently. So, no, my main priority is getting them open permanently, safely as we move forward. Obviously, we've got the vaccine rolling out, but there's no reason why if a large business in town can have hundreds of cases that my small businesses that have had none can't be open.
Well, let's revisit your last comment there. We've got the vaccines rolling out. Do we? What did you say in the news, that we've only delivered 45%, Lance? Something like that?
Yeah, it's a low percentage in our state. I'm sure you know that already, Chris.
Yeah. So, well, I'll tell you, I'm going to speak. I'm going to speak of the positives first, because in our community we do have some real positives. I know Virginia May said I was on a call with them Friday, I believe, and they had distributed every single dose that they had received. As a matter of fact, from what they were telling me, they had vaccinated more people than doses, because the full dose, they were combining them from other, I'm going to guess they were taking extras from the certain doses and combining them to give additional doses, from what I'm understanding. So, it's happening on a case-by-case basis. I do think on a state level, we've got some serious questions that need to be asked. I know that our governor recently signed on to a letter chastising the Trump administration for not getting enough vaccines delivered to the states. But I'm sitting here going, well, if you haven't actually administered all the ones you have, what's your concern here? Like, get the ones out that we've got. You're absolutely right.
I think that's a pretty a common scenario where you'll complain about the Trump administration, their holdup, and then you go and you look in the closet and you see, hey, dude, you still got 20 shelves full here. What's the deal? Where were you, Lance? Earlier you were talking about not having enough people to receive all in a package that unused ones.
Oh, they were just saying on Fox's. That was in New York.
New York, okay.
They were just it was in New York, and they're also having problems with trying to get it to their most vulnerable people, and they're having to throw a lot of the vaccine away in some cases because they can't give it to some people, and it goes bad, and it's just this is the rollout has not been the way that a lot of people thought it would be. Let's start opening up football stadiums, and
everything seems to be getting politicized now, right? Even this rollout, you had Governor Cuomo out threatening people with fines and stuff. It's like, no, if you've got vaccines that are going bad, grab your next person and get them the vaccine if they want it.
All right. Well, let's before we leave the idea of reopening, there's a story, page 3A, Yakima Herald Republic, Sunday. Jobless benefits caught up in fight between Inslee and GOP. And basically it says that Republican leaders frustrated over Inslee's restrictions on restaurants and business refused to extend several of the governor's emergency measures, including the one that hastens payment of unemployment checks and reduces some employers' costs. So if this article is accurate, and you can tell us, basically the state GOP, frustrated by the governor not opening up restaurants so restaurant workers can get back to work, they are refusing to expedite unemployment benefits to those very same restaurant workers in a act similar to Nancy Pelosi holding COVID money hostage to make a point all summer long. How far off am I?
Well, the fact that you compared us to Nancy Pelosi is a little frustrating, but no, I'll tell you. But I'll get into it this way. So we now have the opportunity on all these proclamations that the governor has been, signing throughout the last year. They're now debatable and they're now amendable. So what you'll start seeing is, like on Friday, we're going to be having a discussion on proclamations that are set to expire, and we can offer, our points of view on them. We can offer up our amendments to try to either make them better or, make them more narrowly crafted. We've seen some more the more egregious ones. I haven't been part of the specific discussion around expedited payments. I would imagine that it's not just being held up for political purposes, but they're actually trying to, get something done so that we can continue to move our reopen and, economic recovery back on track.
Spoken like a true Republican, Chris Corry, but the article
Thank
would,
you.
yeah, you're welcome. The article would indicate, and again, it's Yakima Republican, it's a Seattle Times article hosted within. Basically, they're saying they refuse to extend out of frustration, and that would be, to me, counterproductive. So I don't want to necessarily take up all of our time talking about this. I just found it interesting that the people who need this most, who need to go to work, and that's the frustration, are the ones that are going to be affected by holding up the expedited unemployment money. I'm just wondering if there are other ways to express that.
There should be other ways to do it, and obviously, the Washington State citizens shouldn't be used as a pawn in a game of political chess. You're absolutely right. I mean,
especially when it's the benefits that affect them. But I guess if you guys get to go back over all of his emergency declarations now and tweak them, or do we do away with some? I mean, what kind of power do you guys have?
Yeah.
Well, obviously we're still in the minority, so we have to have Democrats agree with us. And I'll tell you, I've had some Democrats agree with some of our concerns behind closed doors, but will they do it when it's on the record? I'm not sure.
Good point.
But we've got to, like, the biggest one that we've got to look at and work on is the eviction moratorium. There are people that are hurting, and we want to help them, but there are people obviously that aren't hurting that are taking advantage of this, and those are some real dire consequences for our state and federal economy. So putting in certain, we call them sideboards in Olympia, making sure that the people get help that need it, but that the people that don't can't abuse the order, I think, is important.
So that's set to expire in a short order, or what's the status?
Well, I believe he's extended that through March, but I would imagine that we would have a time frame. I'd have to look up the exact proclamation and see the date that we would have to continue that. So.
Right.
That's going to be kind of a weekly part of our session going forward on some of these, depending on how long we extend them or when they're coming due.
Gotcha.
Last week he extended it to March 31st.
All right, so people have.
Yeah, but I think that we'll have a date before then to actually discuss, potential changes to that.
And it's a double-edged sword. You want people to be kicked out on the street, and yet people who have rental properties as their livelihood, they're affected when they aren't able to get any rent. So it's tough. It's definitely a tough situation.
No, it is, and I don't think we're talking about just kicking people out on the street. I think what we're saying is, if you've genuinely lost your job and can't pay your rent, yes, we're going to work with you. But we're getting stories of people across the state who just stopped paying the rent because, well, you can't evict me. It doesn't matter if I'm working or not, and
nice.
And that's a problem, and that creates huge headaches in the market down the line.
Sure. There's a million opportunities for our worst nature to pop up, isn't there? I mean, it's just we can see the best and the worst of us in times like this. It's got to be crazy. Well, what's on your agenda, Chris? I mean, as you see yourself with a 16-vote majority over the top of you in the House, 9 votes in the Senate. What's your agenda? Tread water, or what do you hope to actually get done? Is there enough concern from West Siders to try to trim Inslee's wings a little bit on his powers, or what?
I think so. I heard from my colleagues throughout the summer about concerns they had. Now's the time we can right size the ship. I think that our government works best when it's not out of one office. So, my priority obviously is COVID response and making sure that we do the right thing by people in small business first and foremost. Whether it's fixing unemployment rates because those are set to skyrocket through no fault of their own. And using some BSA for that. Luckily, we're in a really good position economically now. We don't need to raise any taxes, and we've already heard calls. People are using this crisis as a sounding board to raise taxes, and I don't think that's the right move at this time. So we're going to fight against that. Being in the minority, my job is to make bad bills better, obviously to advocate and argue for my constituents, and I plan on doing that. And then just trying to move forward, common sense policies that work for both sides of the mountain. And, we are in a minority, but I will say that, the majority party is willing to work with us and hear us out on issues. Obviously, we don't always agree, but, that's why I'm over there for that fight. And it's, really the big reason why I do what I do.
I don't think we can use the word fight, because what happened to Mr. Trump when he said we have to fight hard, and all of a sudden he's the leader of the insurrection. So let's say, what's a good word, politically correct word that we could use?
Effort.
Mortal Kombat. No, that's way out there. Ridiculous.
I'm going to have to go over there and vigorously engage.
There you go.
Colleagues.
Vigorously engage.
Beautiful.
Hey, do you see yourself going over at all during the session? Will there be a reason to pop over there?
So I got elected to assistant floor leader this year. It was with my Republican colleagues. So I will be going over there probably weekly, because we do have some staff that need to be on the floor.
Uh-huh.
So as we ramp up what we call floor action, I will be over there with the floor team running the voting and the floor action stuff. So I'll be over there a couple days a week, I think. But otherwise, I'm working from my home, my district office, and just meeting with constituents and trying to do the work of the state for the people.
So does everybody have the phone numbers that they need to get a hold of you, and any information you want to get out to your 14th district constituents here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to give you I'm going to give you two things. My email address,
okay,
which is just chris.corry@ledge.wa.gov, and it's also on the website. But if people need to reach my office, it's 360-786-7810. And, I'm more than willing to meet and do whatever I can.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Representative. Best of good luck in the oddest of years. But we know that you've got 14th District in your heart and in your mind, and we'll do the best that you can on our behalf. So thanks very much for the time, Chris.
Good day.
Thank you.